instrumentation is something which touches almost all the industries. There is no industry in this world which cannot be having instrumentation or measurements of any sorts done.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of FaceTime with Leaders, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes with some of the brightest minds shaping today's industries. I'm Tanayol, and I'm thrilled to have you join us today. Today, we have a guest whose career journey is as expansive as it is inspiring. Imagine someone who has not only navigated but mastered fields like logistics, materials management, and operations, and all while embracing constant change and setting new benchmarks. With a legacy spanning 4 decades, he knows the value of precision, innovation, and lifelong learning. But here's the catch, we're not going to tell you everything about him right now. Let's just say he's a master of process improvement, a Six Sigma expert, and a true pioneer in his field. Curious? Well, you should be, right? I mean, because we dig into his journey, you'll discover insights that could redefine how you see leadership, strategy, and career growth. So, without further ado, let's welcome our guest, Mr. Shreenivas Bhagwat, to the show. Get ready for a conversation packed with wisdom, wit, and plenty of takeaways. We welcome you on the show, sir.
Thank you, Tane. Thank you for the great introduction that you have given.
Sir, when we look at a career like yours, spanning over 40 years, evolving from a trainee engineer to a senior consultant, it's not just a journey. It's a story of resilience, transformation, and countless lessons learned along the way. If you could step back for a moment and reflect, so what were some of those defining moments that shaped not just your career, but also the way you approach challenges and opportunities? We'd love to hear the story behind the milestones that made this journey so remarkable.
Okay, let me begin from the start. When you talked about resilience, that is a buzzword today, and that is something which is required everywhere in all the areas of operations. So when I started my career as a instrumentation engineer after graduation, uh, it was something new to me. Instrumentation is something which touches almost all the industries. There is no industry in this world which cannot be having instrumentation or measurements of any sorts done. So by that process, I was into temperature measurement and logging and scanning and all those stuffs. So that was my introduction to almost all across the industry. I got exposed to steel, glass, food industry, pharmaceutical industry, and all these industries require the processes and they need to be monitored. It was at times with the pressure also, the temperature and the controllers, and that time it was beginning of maybe I will say processor based computing. It was not like PLCs and all those stuff. So we started with 8085 and that was the time we programmed it. It was also an exposure to some of the I will say process industries where you have these mechanical shops, press shops, and moldings and castings and forgings, and they also require a lot of temperature measurement. So, in short, that was the time when I had exposure to almost across the industry. I could see the processes without being the part of that particular domain. I was as an instrumentation guy, I was getting into the knowledge of the processes and how to measure and how important is the measurement for them. So that was my journey to begin with. And then came the first changeover when I did my materials management, because that was the time when something in management I wanted to get into. So I completed my materials management and I was exposed to inventory management, and I switched over from the instrumentation design and installations and commissioning of panels. I switched over to inventory control. Again, that was the time I'm talking to in terms of 80s. So it was batch processing and manual accounting of the material and all that stuff. Control was to be done, and slowly we entered into the again. I was with Hercules Hoist in Bombay, where we had the EOT and HOT cranes and mechanical hoist and all that stuff. So we had around five to 6,000 kind of material in our inventory list. that was to be tracked, and there was not supposed to be any shortage or something like that. It was interesting, and I learned that part of it right from the hands-on experience in the stores management to getting into the accounting and posting the consumption for the accounting and all that stuff. So that was the materials management. That took me to another area of management where I was tracking into import exports also. So I switched over to the industry. The whole journey of mine, I could switch over to the industries as and when I had the chance to get into, and that happened to be a new era, a new area of operation. And again, import export was something which was related to logistics and materials management, but that was something to do with customs. So I had my seniors who were helping me out in understanding the concepts. In anything, in any area you go, any department or any function of the industry, what one needs to understand is the conceptual framework of that whole thing. Like customs, you have to understand what is the custom and what is the aim of the customs. If you know what are they going after, then you will know how to respond to them. So that is how we started getting into the import export management. That was the time when there was advanced licensing was there. You have to go and submit the consumption again to get the import benefits, and such was the area. So we went into that, and then was the case when I was also exposed to something of ISO. That was the time when ISO had started implementation, and I was into ISO auditing. I was facing the audits. I was getting into ISO certifications. I got certified as a lead auditor that time, and that is how the whole thing went into writing manuals, writing procedures so that they are successful. They can address all the scenarios which you encounter in day-to-day management of any department. So that was my shift. Again, I started with instrumentation. I went into materials management, import exports, and then I was into ISO implementation, writing quality manuals. It was an exposure to managing quality, understanding customer also. That was a very important part which I learned at that point of time. Then came my exposure to marketing, because I was working with National Leather Cloth in Bombay, and they had a division which was supplying the automobile interior seats to companies like Telco and ACGL, and Premier was a company, Premier Padmini, if you recall. That was something which was in production that time. So we had to supply those things, and since I was able to understand the requirements of the customers and the quality part of it, I was shifted to understanding and interacting with customers, the key account management. That is what we call it today. So I was the frontline person there, understanding the requirements of the seating systems in the car, and we used to supply it. And I was the person who was then working on the marketing plans and strategies of how to go about it. We had exposure to automobile industries, and then I was part of it. I was also be there in telco, maybe a couple of days in a week. So that is how I shifted from materials management to import exports to getting into marketing and sales and understanding customers, understanding the requirements. That also gave the exposure to the design part of it, not only selling a product, but also understanding the blueprint of Sumo. Was something which was launched in 1992. It was under development. So I had that opportunity to get into that kind of an environment also, to understand the blueprint and get into the first prototype of seat, which was to be submitted there for production later on. So that was my part into the marketing part of it. That is also the period when I was interested in programming. So I learned about computer programming. I was working with Visual Basic that time. Now you have R programming, you have Python, you have so many other advanced languages today. But we used to do it in Visual Basic that time, and it was good to know, good to make a program. For electronic parts, I conducted a complete program for the inventory management. starting from making the masters and then getting into transactions and getting into reporting MIS part of it. So that was a programming part where I did my advanced diploma also in computer programming that time. When I was doing all this, and I was also part of the ISO audit in my company, which I was working with, I came into contact with Asian Institute of Quality Management. They are into delivering the training sessions for industry, for ISO, and also for Six Sigma. I found it very interesting because ISO is something which gives you the manuals and the SOPs. Six Sigma talks about excellence in processes, how to improve your process to the next level, so that you are able to deliver not only to the customer but also gain something from the excellence in process for the company to benefit. Because satisfying customer needs at any cost is not the equation. You have to also have your bottom line in place. So that is something Six Sigma talks about. And I also got certified as initially as a green belt and later on black belt. And today I am also a mentor. I'm a certified master black belt in Six Sigma. I am mentoring certain projects for industries. And this excellence part of it gives a lot of scope to, again, not only understand the industrial processes which I was exposed to earlier in my period when I was working in instrumentation and my customers for the processes, but that also gives you a area of understanding not only customer in terms of what they want, but also the critical part of what customer is really wanting. If you ask me that, given a customer, tell me something what he wants as in one word, so that is what we call as critical to quality parameter, which is the most important thing which customer would like to have it. And if you understand that, then every other thing will follow. That is not so critical, but the customer is very sensitive to that particular parameter. So we go backward, working into the processes and getting into that kind of an performance for the industry. Again, Six Sigma is something which also requires everyone to work in a team. It's not a one-man show. You cannot do anything on your own. So you have to have your team along with. You have to understand their pluses and minuses. You have to understand how to employ them, how to lead them into the project. There is a methodology, of course, that is given. The documentation is already standard, which can be followed. But all said and done, this is something which was an interesting journey for me, because understanding the basics hands-on from the shop floor point of view and getting into the management part of it, till the part you are able to train your team into the getting into excellence. So you are not the doer then. It is normally, it is said that if your junior can do something, you should not do it. So hands-on, you should be okay. You should be having a hands-on experience with everything. There is no harm about it, and it helps you. But that is not the way, because once you get into the control, once you get into the management part of it, then you have to get your team doing it for you, so that you are controlling the MIS, the reporting part of it. That is something which gives you the control. So that was a period. Later on, I was continuing with Asian Institute. Today also, I'm a visiting faculty there. I do conduct the training programs for the institute. And as part of that, all that journey that I went through, I was interested to know about the IDP, Independent Directors Program, which is offered by the Directors Institute. I went through that. I learned that part of it also. And I did the ESG expert module also. Quite interesting for the industry in today's world. So that was my summary of how I switched over from functions to departments to deliverables to understanding the changing requirement. The customers were different. Customers were industrial as well as the individuals. The customers also were from the overseas part of it, where you have to deal with import, export, and warehousing. I had the opportunity to work for around 5 to 6 years in a auction house for arts. Now there, I was using my logistics and my operations area of expertise, but my commodity was artworks. So importing artworks, warehousing artworks, ensuring artworks, and also exporting it, and conducting the events which are normally done as auctions. So that was something which was a different ball game altogether. But all said and done, the functional principles and functional procedures and functional fundamentals remain the same. It's all about logistics, it's all about systems, it's all about improving the processes that went to, and the teamwork, which is the part of it. So that was my brief journey I can
Lovely, sir.
encapsulate. Yeah.
So it's fascinating how your career has spanned such diverse fields, from designing auto interiors for telco to implementing inventory systems for global logistics. So transitioning between such different roles couldn't have been easy. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced during these shifts and how did you overcome them?
The challenge was, what happens is once you are exposed to a new field, a new area, new commodity, new industry, then one is not supposed to know everything of every domain to begin with. That was the challenge. Supposing you are supposed to design the auto interiors, I had no clue of what goes into the design of that interior item in the automobile and what are the specifications, what are the drawings, how do they perform. So, uh, only way to overcome those challenges is to learn, to get into hands-on job of doing it by yourself and understanding what is what. So that is one thing. Even if you go to the chemical industry and you are trying to do some projects, then these transitions require you to understand of what are the essentials that go into the process. So you may not be a chemical engineer, but all said and done, by interacting with the customer, you can understand of what is happening and what is the goal and where the process is getting stuck. Where is the performance and what are the critical reporting parameters that are very important to the management.
Yeah.
One from the technical point of view, one the other from the management point of view. So learning, I feel, is something which is the key to overcome the challenges. And of course, you need to have a team which also gives you a lot of input, because I may not be expert in everything, but my team as a unit can do wonders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, true, sir. More, the team can definitely cover more base than one person will ever be able to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I experienced that, and I could experience that in my all journey when I switched over to new processes and new deliverables. Another thing which also can help you overcome the challenges is one should be very familiar, or one should be okay with documentation. If I am able to write down everything and note down the critical points, the diary or the book gives me the reference to go backwards and find out what happened when. So documentation is something which came to me from the ISO implementation point of view. When you're writing manuals and SOPs, it becomes very essential to understand every part of it.
Yeah, true. So your career has been a masterclass in versatility, from managing branch operations to implementing cutting-edge inventory systems and driving ISO certifications. I'm curious, with such a diverse range of experiences under your belt, how have they shaped your leadership style in logistics and materials management? Like, how do you approach guiding teams and making impactful decisions in such dynamic environments?
Uh, I will again go back to the team spirit. You have to be a team player at any point of time. You give any industry, you give any scenario, you have to work in the team. You have to form your team. You have to groom your team to get into that, because everyone will not know everything about all the aspects of the whole operation. So teamwork is something which gives you an idea of how to get into that particular mode of excellence. Learning is something which not only for oneself but also for the team. So training is something which I feel will go a long way for any, even a number one industry in any particular domain. It has to go on training and developing new skills, because today the scenario is changing very fast. So I feel the the key to that is working in the team, learning process to continue, and of course to understand the customer's perspective because they are also changing very fast.
Yeah.
One good thing which I see today, which was not there 20 years back, was today you have got data science and you have got the data available from so many platforms in social
Yeah.
media also. And so to track the customer, to know the what you call the way customer thinks, there is something interesting tool that we use in Six Sigma, which is called quality function deployment, which wants you to get into the customer shoes and understand the way your product is performing.
Yeah.
So that's something which helps. Another thing which gets into leadership for the team as such. I'm not talking of myself, but to make your team lead the whole process and get into the next level of performance is something, a tool which is normally used. Everybody knows about it normally, but it's very essential to know the failure mode effect analysis, FMEA we call it, to think of what can go wrong and it will go wrong, but then think of how you are going to block it.
Yeah.
So these are the ways you can lead and still remain performing into the any given processes. The commodity is not so important. Understanding the inputs, outputs, and the feedback loop is very important to me.
The process. Yes.
Yeah, the process. Yeah.
So, reflecting on a career as accomplished and dynamic as yours, it's natural to wonder about the lessons that come with time and experience. So, looking back, is there a particular skill or mindset you wish you had embraced earlier? And why do you believe that quality is especially vital for today's professionals navigating the ever evolving industries?
Yeah, interesting question. I, I wish I could have learned statistics in the beginning of my career because that is what I find very useful today. The statistical tools and the concepts and we call them tools in Six Sigma. They are very helpful to know to read the data is something which is not the case when you go to the any domain specialist. But statistics is something you give a data of any particular domain and you can read the data, you can do the understanding of where you stand, where you want to go, what are the trends, what are the uh, things happening, where exactly is the issue. You will be
Yeah.
surprised to know that even the root cause can be found out by statistical control charts. The control charts, if you are able to use it, which I was not aware of, but I learned it later on. So if you ask me one question, I should have done that before. That helps a lot. It's a huge potential to understand what's happening.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
So, with such a remarkable career behind you, it's exciting to think about what lies ahead. So, as someone who has achieved so much across diverse industries, what are your aspirations for the next phase of your career? And when it comes to boardroom opportunities, what is the kind of impact you hope to have at that level?
Uh, Firstly, I would aspire to become an independent director, but I had some options available to me. I never got into it because there are certain things which you require to know. Today, the case is slightly different to me. It is not only that the company is screening you, but you are also screening the company's background, the company's ethos, the company's track record or the reputation that it has in the market, and especially the management style that you have. So, given the chance, anybody would like to become a board of director member. But my question is, what is the company, what they are doing, and I don't mind having problematic periods for the company. The company might have even a negative cash flow at certain point of time. But the question is, are you positioned and are you mentally prepared to take the challenges in that manner? Are you
Yeah.
transparent? One, are you able to take your team along with? and are you resilient about what's going on, and how are you ready for a change? If that is happening, then even a negative cash flow can be converted to a profit making scenario. That is what I believe. So what I can take to the board is something which I will say the open thinking and getting into system. One, the management has to generate or organize or train or create a system which will take over. You are not going to do it all the way, all the time yourself.
Yeah.
Doing it yourself gives you an insight of what's going to happen, but your team has to go, the system has to be created. So we believe in the process and the policies and the procedures that you install. Once they are in place, when your team knows about it, however large your team may be, you might be having 1,000 employees or maybe 5,000 employees. The question is, the policies and the procedures are to be set, they are to be followed, they are to be audited, they are to be tracked. Once that is done, then the board is ready to go. You can think of the new horizons, you can think of the expansions, you can think of the collaborations in today's scenario.
Yeah.
So that can be something which I can bring it to the table.
As long as goals are aligned, I think it makes things easier.
And as long as you select the company which is well placed as far as the I will say the management style is concerned, that is
Right.
very important.
Yeah. So, corporate governance has become a cornerstone of leadership in today's business landscape, and your experience in various leadership roles surely gives you a unique perspective on this. So, how do you view the evolving importance of corporate governance in organizations, and what role do you think it plays in shaping responsible leadership and sustainable business practices?
To me, take any company, whether it is a small scale industry or it's a huge multinational or it's a large company or a government organization or whatever. To me, leadership is something which is the key, and governance is something which is a tool which gets into the activation part of whatever framework you design as a operating manual for you. So governance is something which talks about adhering to the policies, adhering to the systems and the procedures that get into, basing your decisions on the data. So having a good MIS also is something which is important when it comes to governing. You should know it first. Today, as you know, data is available online almost. You need not do a batch processing or you need not enter the data. When the transactions are occurring, the data is getting collected and you can have the reports there and there itself. So that's a dynamic thing which is very good, which I observed today as far as the data science is concerned. And yes, leadership is something which takes you, because I don't accept anybody saying that something wrong happened in my company and I was never aware of it. If you are a board member, if you are the director of the company, you are the leader and leader has to know about it. Otherwise, why you should be called a leader? So leadership is that important as far as the operations are concerned. You may not be physically around in the
Yeah.
premises, but leader is something which knows everything. That is how the things happen in the companies.
Sir, given your focus on continuous growth, how has your experience with Directors Institute influenced your professional development? And what aspects of the courses have helped shape your leadership and approach to corporate governance?
Oh, it was a turning point, I will say. I had some different notions about board of directors. I had some different notions about the management and the issues which are tackled in corporates. But having done the module of independent director as well as the ESG, uh, especially the interactions that we had with JS, the 10 interactions that we had on understanding, it was something like understanding the theory when it came to the study material given and the recorded sessions that we attended, and doing a practical application. That was the JS part of it in the interaction that we learned. More than what is to be done, we could understand what is not to be done when it comes to working in a board environment of or guiding a company as a policy or at the senior level. So that is what the input I could understand. The legal part of it and the financial part of it was something which was new, because I come from a technical background. All the way, all these years, I was never exposed to the legalities of the process, or maybe the financial issues, which are the bottom lines. And directly, I was not in control of that any time. But this particular module gave me the exposure, idea of where do you stand and how
Yeah.
important they are when you come to taking decisions in the board. So it was quite helpful, and I wish it was a continuing sessions. But I still remember the sessions, and it was good insights which I could experience without getting into the actual scenario. So great thing to have that particular module.
Lovely, sir. Thank you so much for your kind words. And more importantly, thank you so much for joining us today, sir. Because your journey and insights into leadership, corporate governance, and continuous learning are truly inspiring. It's been a pleasure hearing about your remarkable career and the valuable lessons you've learned along the way. And for our listeners, we hope that today's conversation has sparked some new ideas and reflections. So, thank
It's
you
my
so much
pleasure
once
too.
again, sir.
It's my pleasure too, and nice to interact again with the institute. And let us see, things will shape up better.
Definitely, sir. Have a great day.
Yeah, same here. Thank you.
Thank you all for tuning into FaceTime with Leaders with us today. Till our next session, stay connected, stay inspired, and we look forward to bringing you more stories from the forefront of leadership next time. Thank you.